Welcome to Random and Memorable, a podcast from 1Password. I'm Matt Davey, 1Password's Chief Experience Officer.
I'm Sarah, one of the founders at 1Password.
I'm Roo, Head of Password Manager Development.
I'm Anna, the producer behind the show.
And we're the hosts behind Random and Memorable. Together, we offer up bi-weekly security advice, interview special guests from the cybersecurity community, and round up the latest security news in Watchtower Weekly. Plus, we may play a silly security game or two. So sit back and enjoy the show.
How did everyone spend their wellness day? First of all, Sarah, did you even take a wellness day? Or do you...
I was on holiday last week.
Okay,
so
great.
I included the wellness day in my holiday. I took my mom to Disneyland. So,
aw, nice.
Yes. It was relaxing, but very active. I don't ever get my steps up nearly as much as when I go to Disney. I think that it would be better for my physical health if I lived there.
Yeah. Disney World and Amsterdam. Those are the two places that I remember hitting 12 miles on the first day, easy, walking.
But you don't even notice. That's the thing,
know.
right? If I'm on the treadmill, I notice every single one of those steps. But you point me in the direction of, Tomorrowland, I could walk for days.
Exactly.
I'm tempted to get a walking treadmill that I put under my desk, but I'm quite self-conscious about the weirdness of the bobbing head meeting.
And the breathing.
So you're all sitting there in a meeting and then just one person, their head is bobbing up and down. Is that enough that I shouldn't get a treadmill?
Yes.
Well, as someone who's
Really?
a fidgeter, I fidget enough and I move around in my chair and then all of a sudden I have to switch which leg I'm sitting on, and I find myself extremely distracting on video, and I'm not walking up a hill.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to walk on it, but just click on Zoom, hide self view, so that I don't find myself irritating, but everybody else has to live with me.
Don't do that. I would not risk it.
Risk it.
Yeah.
Once you have one of those things, you can't get rid of them. They're so friggin' heavy. It lives in one area of the house and it can't move, and it's too heavy. You're trapped forever.
But here's the thing. I think it's a problem where I eat quite a bit of cheese and then I need to walk it off. But I have meetings. So two birds, one stone,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about all the other things I've tricked my body into believing over the years. Cheese is a healthy lunch.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, before we get into Watchtower Weekly, I wanted to quickly speak about our guest we have joining us later on. As a few weeks ago, I had a lovely chat with the CEO of Kagi, a search engine that prioritizes user privacy. We talk about how much personal data is actually being used by popular search engines and the real cost of traditional free search. We also discuss how Kagi is trying to disrupt the search landscape and change the status quo. So I'm sure we'll drop that in a little later.
All right. Let's dive into some Watchtower Weekly. This is where we like to chat about some of the latest security news and maybe even rank some hacker group names out of 10. So first up today, we have a story from Wired. And it is, this prompt can make AI chatbot identify and extract personal details from your chats. So, when we're talking with a chatbot, we're likely to eventually give up our personal data, like our name, maybe details about where we live, work, or things like interests. But the more we share with a large language model, the greater the risk of it being abused if there's a security flaw. And this is where this new attack vector comes in. So, a group of security researchers are now revealing a new attack that secretly commands an LLM to gather your personal information, including names, ID numbers, payment card details, email addresses, mailing addresses, and more from chats, and send it directly to a hacker. The attack is named Imprompter. That's a pretty good name. I'm giving that 7 out of 10. It uses an algorithm to transform a prompt given to the LLM into a hidden set of malicious instructions. An English language sentence telling the LLM to find personal information someone has entered and send it to the hackers is turned into what appears to be a random selection of characters. However, in reality, this nonsense-looking prompt instructs the LLM to then find the user's personal information, attach it to a URL, and quietly send it back to a domain owned by the attacker, all without alerting the person who is chatting with the LLM. The effect of this particular prompt is essentially to manipulate the LLM agent to extract personal information from the conversation and then send that personal information to the attacker's address. And that's from the lead author of the research. We hide the goal of the attack in plain sight. So 8 researchers were behind the work that tested the attack method on 2 LLMs, Le Chat, which is by French AI giant. I'm sorry, but that's like a 2 out of 10.
But you knew it was French. Right away, you knew that was French.
I did. I also, knowing it was French, still pronounced it Le Chat rather than Le Chat, which I think it actually is. So that's by French AI giant Mistral AI, and then Chinese chatbot ChatGLM. In both instances, they found that they could stealthily extract personal information within test conversations with nearly 80% success rate. Mistral AI tells Wired that it is now fixed to the security vulnerability. I wonder how it did that. Did it just tell the thing, hey, you know when people say this? Don't give them personal information. Thanks, silly AI. So, since OpenAI's ChatGPT sparked a generative AI boom following its release at the end of 2022, security research... Was it only 2022?
Yeah.
It feels like it's been around for forever.
I say 2022 from the facts that I have in front of me, but like it feels like it was a long time ago.
Time is moving so fast.
Yeah. So, researchers and hackers have been consistently finding security holes in AI systems. These often fall into 2 broad categories: jailbreaks and prompt injections. So jailbreaks can trick an AI system into ignoring built-in safety rules by using prompts that override the AI's settings. Prompt injections, however, involve an LLM being fed a set of instructions, such as telling them to steal or manipulate a critical vulnerability contained within an external data source. For instance, a message embedded on a website that will contain a hidden prompt that an AI will ingest if it summarizes the page. I often liken those to the Westworld, when the robot says, that doesn't look like anything to me.
I've never seen Westworld.
No? It's worth it for the first series, not so much the rest of them.
Okay.
So, prompt injections are considered one of generative AI's biggest security risks and are not easy to fix. The attack type particularly worries security experts as LLMs are increasingly turned into agents that can carry out tasks on behalf of a human, such as booking flights or beginning to be connected to an external database to prompt specific answers. The impromptu attack on LLM agents starts with a natural language prompt that tells the AI to extract all personal information, names, IDs, etc. from the user's conversation. The researcher's algorithm generates an obfuscated version that has the same meaning to the LLM, but to humans looks like a series of random characters. The researchers say that if the attack were carried out in the real world, people could be socially engineered into believing the unintelligible prompt might do something useful, such as improve their CV. For companies, I think this will mean understanding the ways an AI agent can interact with data and how they can be abused. But for individual people, similar to common security advice that we give on this podcast very often, you should just consider how much information that you're giving to AIs, including chatbots or any kind of company like that. Plus, if you're using prompts from the internet, just be cautious of where they came from. I think that's general advice, just generally. Don't copy and paste things from the internet and type them into your computer if you're not sure about them.
Yeah, always a little bit thoughtful about that, for sure.
I think it was interesting, though, the hidden prompt that AI ingests and then it summarizes the page. So, I'm thinking about some very real-world examples where you say, hey, here's this article, can you read this and then tell me what it means? I'm thinking about you get an answer back, but there's a hidden prompt on it that lies to you, or it tells your teachers that you're summarizing your articles somehow. There's some interesting opportunities here for some academic websites where they could put in cheat codes, basically. So if someone's trying to use it to summarize articles and say, okay, here, what does this say? I don't know.
Oh, doing it for good instead of evil. I like it.
Well, I'm thinking about, how do you make sure your material is your material? And that seems to be the new thing. You get ChatGPT to write something, and then you get ChatGPT to tell you if it looks like ChatGPT wrote it. So if there's a way to put something on, I'm thinking in particular, trademark material, where if you don't want LLMs training, for artists, you put it on your streaming feed, you put it on your stuff, and so then someone comes along and they want to train their LLM, and then it puts up a roadblock right away saying, no, you can't use my content to train your engine, like some sort of a roadblock almost instantly. But I don't know. I don't know enough about how it works, but I was very interested as you were talking about it.
Okay, this next one, 2024, looks set to be another record-breaking year for ransomware, and it looks like it's likely to get worse. So this is from TechCrunch, and despite various law enforcement agencies' wins against ransomware actors, like the sweeping takedown of Lockbit, the seizure of Radar, basically hackers continue to reap the rewards of these data theft attacks, and 2024 looks to be their most profitable year to date. That's according to Alan Lisker, a ransomware expert who serves as threat intelligence analyst at cybersecurity firm Recorded Future. In a recent interview, Lisker confirmed that 2024 is on track to be another record-breaking year for ransomware, with equally record-breaking ransoms paid by victims to hackers. They said the curve is going to flatten a little bit, which I guess is good news, but a record-breaking year is still a record-breaking year. We've also, for this year, for the first time that I'm aware of, had 4 8-figure ransoms paid. I don't know what currency that is, but 8 figures is a lot in any currency. I'm assuming dollars.
Indeed, yeah.
Oof. One of these 8-figure sums was the $22 million ransom that Change Healthcare paid to the Russian cybercrime gang Alphav. That's like an alpha, but with it, instead of the A on the end, it's a V. 1 point for that, I think, to be honest, as a name. You can't even read it out. Following the theft of the highly sensitive medical data related to hundreds of millions of Americans. What followed, Lisker said, was a rampant infighting between the ransomware group and its affiliate, which carried out the hack on their behalf. If you wanted a reality show, this was it. That's what Lisker said. This scrappiness is only likened to worsen as younger threat actors join the ransomware game, as we've seen highly skilled and financially motivated hackers like Lapsus $, and more recently Scattered Spider. This loose-knit group of predominantly teenage hackers has carried out some of the most disastrous cyber attacks in history, such as the breach of MGM hotels and suspected links to the recent cyber attack on Transport for London. The disjointed nature of these attackers is evidenced by the increase of data theft-only attacks, which have increased by more than 30% in 2024, according to Lisker, and they also said a lot of the newer threat actors just don't want to deal with decryption or anything like that, referring to hackers that attack and exfiltrate huge amounts of stolen data. So what's the solution? Lisker said, we've had 20 plus law enforcement agencies just this year against ransomware. And that is fantastic. But if we're going to feed 8-figure ransom payments to these attackers, then that changes the incentive model. You might get arrested, but on the other hand, you might get an 8-figure ransom payment. And that's a challenge that is hard to resist. His answer, Lisker, is ban ransom payments, which is a terrible solution, but it may be the least bad one that we have now. That's what he says. I don't like that. I don't like any of that. 8 figures. That's an incentive to start a whole industry, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's that previous sentence that didn't make sense. Is like, you can't ban ransomware payments, but it's the only answer that we have right now.
I don't even think, I think that they'll just be doing it through third parties. I don't think this is something that you can ban.
Yeah. No, I agree. Unless you make it illegal to pay ransomware.
I mean, then you just pay a third-party company and they take the legal hit, right?
I suppose.
If it's the difference between you running a business and you not running a business, and you've got, 8 figures to fly around for that information, then you're going to do it somehow, even if it's banned.
I suppose.
Oh, okay, right. I've got no good answer to that, so we're just going to move on to the next one. So, this next one is an interesting one. The fired Disney staffer accused of hacking menu to add profanity wingdings and remove allergen information, and this one is from the Register. So, a disgruntled ex-Disney employee has been arrested and charged with hacking his former employees' systems to alter restaurant menus with potentially deadly consequences. They were fired from this Disney role as a menu production manager in June for what the complaint notes was specified as misconduct, and the dismissal was contentious and not considered to be amicable, according to court documents. So, in early July, this person is said to used their work credentials, which still functioned after his termination. We'll get to that in a bit. So, They accessed the menu creation system that Disney contracted another company to create and changed all the fonts in the system to wingding symbols. The fonts were renamed by the threat actor to remain the name of the original font, but the actual characters appeared as symbols. According to the complaint, the changes knocked the system offline for a couple of weeks, requiring backup restoration to fix. My God, a couple of weeks. You'd think that they'd just, move the folder of fonts and have the original ones put back in. I'm sure it's more complex than that.
Yeah, this seems like a surprisingly long recovery time.
Mm-hmm.
So, in addition to the font changes, they also were accused of having downloaded menus and altered them to eliminate allergen information suggesting foods were safe when they weren't. As the complaint notes, this could have had deadly consequences. It is believed these menus were identified and isolated by Disney prior to being shipped out to restaurants and were not distributed any further. They were also accused of being behind several denial of service attacks on a number of Disney employees they had allegedly had prior contact with by developing a script to hammer account login pages with incorrect login attempts. Most critically, the complaint claims personal information on several of the Disney employees targeted for DOS attacks were found in the folder of the desktop labeled Docs, as well as PII belonging to one of the employees' relatives. So it's not clear how long they can face in prison, but it could be up to 15 years based on sentencing guidelines. That is a lot. This seems fairly rudimentary, if I'm honest, right? Like, there's blame on both sides here.
Yeah.
You should definitely not keep around credentials after someone has left. Absolutely, if the notes in their dismissal file was contentious and was not considered to be amicable. Oh my goodness. I think the DOS tags were probably the cherry on the cake here.
I think that's probably the real problem, and it was what's going to be the hook to get you done, and it's the menus and the potential for all these other people. Think of the allergens. As someone who relies on the allergen menus,
yeah.
It's important to have that, but it's the doxing your fellow employees and all of that. That's not cool. Like, why do you have a folder of some employee's relative information? Like, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of me thinks if Disney had been a bit better set up to remove credentials and also put some constraints around their login page and how many attempts and stop things like this, or spot the abuse, then it probably would have been protected. But apart from taking the font system, which apparently took weeks to get back online, they do seem to be fairly well protected here. I think this is kind of like making a point that you can break these rules, and it is very serious, even if, like, technologically this wasn't the most complex attack.
I feel like there's a part of this story that is a bit buried. Because when we get into this, he's got information on other employees in a folder named Docs, DOX, as in he's going to dox them or expose their personal information. That strikes me as something more nefarious than just editing menus. I feel that there's a bigger story here with this person.
For 15 years, you got to hope there's a bigger story.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's jump to my conversation with Vlad from Kagi. Like I mentioned at the start of the show, Vlad and I got to chat about browsing safely online. We touch on everything from how ads impact search results to how AI is transforming the search experience. It's a super insightful conversation, so let's not waste any more time and drop it in here. I'm excited to be joined today by Vladimir Prelovac. Vladimir is the founder and CEO of Kagi, a subscription-based search engine that aims to offer a more authentic experience and prioritize user privacy. Vlad founded Kagi in 2018 after becoming frustrated with existing search engines that he felt prioritized advertising over users. Today, we'll be getting into the topic of browsing safely online, private search, and how AI is impacting the search engine landscape. So, welcome to the show, Vlad.
Thanks for having me here, Michael.
Can you start off and give us a little bit of background on your career and what led you to create Kagi? Like, what gaps did you see in the existing search engine market that you wanted to address?
Sure. So I started before Kagi. I ran a couple of internet companies. So I had a lot of domain knowledge, how to do large-scale management. In 2018, a Matrix wake-up moment happened to me. One day, basically, I was using Google as everybody else does and pretty much still does in the world. And I was searching for, I think it was GitLab, and I saw a sponsored ad for GitLab on the top, and then the organic search results for GitLab as, the next one, and both are the same. And first thought was poor marketing person at GitLab who had to basically pay for this nonsense.
Yeah.
And, something that many companies still have to do. And then the Matrix wake-up moment happened where I realized, what about me, the user? And then I realized that my intelligence was being insulted by me having to see those two exactly same results, which are completely a result of the ad-based business model enforced upon me. But I, as a user, I was not asked. I had no say in this whole scheme. And I thought, for something as important as search, for something as important as retrieving information, there should be a user-centric search engine. And strangely, there wasn't. All the search engines in the world at the time were ad-based. And at the same time, my daughter started the elementary school, and here in Bay Area, they all get Chromebooks conveniently, pre-installed the entire Google suite, including the search engine. And it also dawned on me that she will be tracked and profiled from age 6 to adulthood and basically have a decade worth of her information by the time she's an adult. And that was just not acceptable. And again, there was no search engine you could pay for. And I already bought a YouTube premium subscription for my kids because I didn't want them to be influenced by ads and all that, but you couldn't do that for search. So these two things in combination sort of were my waking up from Matrix moment. And I realized that something needs to be done about this and that we should have access to information that is in our best interest and not have a third party intermediary. So that's basically the origin story of Kagi.
It's really interesting, especially like the concept of seeing the ad and then seeing the non-ad entry right below it. As you were talking about that, I sort of like put voice to an internal thing that I do every day that I don't even really think about too much, which is I ignore the ads because I find them distrustful, and I always go to the organic search results, even if it's exactly the same. And it's fascinating and tiring, honestly, to have to mentally like filter out these pieces of information that I don't want to see just to get to the thing that I actually am looking for.
Yeah, it's not just mentally tiring, it's also time consuming. There's loss of productivity, and a lot of people fall prey to malicious ads that take them to websites that wasn't their intention. Actually, FBI in 2022 posted an official guideline recommending U.S. citizens to install an ad blocker. That is how bad the situation is.
Yeah.
We have an official government agency make an official, basically a warning to citizens that you should have an ad blocker installed. And think about the consequences if everybody did what the government recommends to do. Google would be out of business.
Yeah. So you talked about this idea that your daughter is going to have this profile built about her. In your view, like how much do people really know about how their personal data is being used by popular search engines? And what do you think would shock people to learn if they could visualize that data?
Yeah, it's one of those things that take time to grow on people. And I like to compare it to the notion of healthy food. And sort of 30 years ago, nobody cared about healthy and organic food and all that. Now we all sort of care what we put in our bodies. So this concept that how we get our information, I think will take some time. And the price that we pay for all these services to be free today, the change in mindset cannot happen overnight. It took us 30 years to start thinking about food we put in our bodies. I think it's going to take at least a decade for us as a society to start thinking about the quality of information we put in our brains. And today, the majority of web economy is really ad-based. So all these search engines are free. All these browsers are free because they are directly or indirectly paid by advertisers. And at the same time, those are all trillion-dollar companies. So if you just stop and think for a second, how come I'm nominally paying the price of zero, but these are all trillion-dollar companies, you realize that there is something that they're getting that is indeed even more valuable than a monthly subscription, and that is full access to your online digital life, basically. So this is the price that you end up paying.
How do you describe that trade-off to people when you talk to them about Kagi and, the fact that they are unknowingly making these trade-offs?
Yeah, so in every transaction, there is the currency. And so because the price of this is zero, people assume that there is no currency involved because we usually measure value in monetary terms. The truth is, though, that there is always a currency, and the currency used here is your time, your mental cycles, your productivity, the fact that every search you make, every website you take is being tracked. And last but not least, the behavior change. Let's not forget that the whole purpose of advertising is to change your behavior and make you do things that you would otherwise not, right? So there are many factors that we as a society, we are basically paying a pretty big price when you take all these things into account. So lost time, productivity, basically profile of every citizen, and the behavior change of every citizen. There is this very wonderful quote by Ian Bremmer, as a political scientist. He said, the fact that we as citizens are getting information from the world's largest advertising company is my definition of dystopia. So it's not just the individual consequences, but the society as a whole is paying a pretty big price by basically outsourcing the information consumption to what is the world's largest advertising company. So there are a lot of consequences, starting with you and in your family, all the way down to the society.
So on the flip side of all of that, Kagi is prioritizing user privacy. Can you talk about how it's doing things differently and what data it's protecting and how?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Once you change the business model and take advertising out of equation and take all these third parties, you basically say you can pay for Kagi with your wallet, not with your data. You turn everything around. So there is no more incentive to collect, misuse, or otherwise do anything with user data. In fact, for Kagi, user data is a liability. We don't want it. We have nothing useful to do with it. You have to log in for Kagi and create an account because that's the nature of a subscription-based business model. You somehow have to tie the payment to an account. But other than that, there is really no incentive for Kagi to ever want to touch your data or do anything with it. So the nature of equation is flipped 180 degrees. And the only thing that is necessary and sufficient for that is just to have a paid business model. So now all of a sudden you're paying $5 or $10 a month for your search. And there is nothing between you and the search vendor. There are no third parties. There are no ads. There are no misaligned incentives. There is no conflict of interest. And that allows us to not only have great search results that are in the best interest of the user, but also on top of the search experience that all these search engines for years didn't. There are a lot of positive side effects for the user once the product becomes user-centric.
What are some of those unique features that Kagi provides on top of traditional search engines?
Yeah, so the most popular features in Kagi by our users are the ability to block websites you don't want to see in your search feed. We call it the search feed personalization. And you can do the inverse. There are websites you like to see more. You can just give us a signal you want to see them more. And then again, if you don't want to see that pesky website ever again in your search results, you just say block it. So you as the user have the ability to personalize your search experience versus us as a search engine doing that on your behalf, which is how the majority of search engines work. Another search experience feature that people like a lot is lenses, where you can basically create a subset of your favorite site and perform a search only against that index. So for example, you have your hobby websites or favorite recipe website. You create a recipe lens in Kagi with those sites and you just search through those sites, not the entire web. And we have a bunch of preloaded lenses for academic research, PDFs, programming, whatnot. So I would say those are the two most popular features that are unique to Kagi and do not exist in any other search engine. These kind of features are not only possible thanks to our business model, but we are also incentivized to create these kind of features because people pay for the search experience. They can get search, obviously, for free elsewhere. So we have this incentive to constantly innovate on search experience, not just the search quality, but also the search experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. So in the past, I have attempted to move my family to other search engines away from Google, and the feedback that I tend to get is it's not finding what I want it to find. It's not getting me the results that I expect to see. I don't like this. How is Kagi answering that type of feedback? I'm guessing that some of that feedback has come through at times while you were developing. Like, what's the answer to that when you're up against a Goliath in search in this way?
Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Kagi is not trying to replace or redo what Google did over the last 25 years, nor I think it's possible to replicate that. Instead, we are getting search results from almost every search engine in the world. Plus, we have our own index that focuses on what we call the small web, which are personal blogs and websites that are kind of lost in mainstream search engines. So we combine all that information together and produce the results for the user. On top of that, we do our own re-ranking. For example, we downrank sites that have a lot of ads and trackers because that correlates with the quality of content, and we promote those that don't. So by combining all those sources, we actually have better search results than any of these search engines independently. And furthermore, if you cannot find something on Kagi, you cannot find it anywhere. Basically, this aggregation plus our own search index makes it uniquely high quality.
That's really interesting. So we've talked about sort of the difference in incentive models between a paid search engine and one that is powered by advertisers. And these adverts can be really accurate and very distracting at times. How do the advertisements affect the quality of the search results? And is it as simple as having the incentive come from a different place that allows Kagi to not sort of fall in those same traps?
There are many layers of why ads do not belong in the context of information retrieval. So you have first the malicious intent, and you have the society's most vulnerable, these tech-savvy people falling prey for these sort of scams. Then the second layer is, it's mentally tiring. Most of the time, they don't do anything useful for you as a user. So you have to either skip them or, install an ad blocker. But there is more nuance to it. The ad-based search engines are incentivized to keep you on them as much as possible. So in other words, you may spend time searching for something over and over and, just try a search, try a website, go back because you didn't find what you need, try another one, go back, change your search. You're spending a lot of time interacting with the search engine, which is what a search engine wants, because every interaction is an opportunity to show you more ads. So there are many layers of why this is bad, not just the nature of having ads, but also this incentive to keep you basically searching as much as they can without you being frustrated by it. In Kagi, the metric I care most about is time to information. I want you to spend the least amount of time possible using Kagi. The first hit in most searches should be the one you need. If we are not achieving that, you're not going to be paying us. So we have a very strong incentive to give you what you want. And actually, the users report when they go through their search history coming from, say, Google to Kagi, the number of searches they make in a month almost halves. So you become basically 50% more efficient because now you don't have to do those repeat searches. You don't have to go down the rabbit hole. So it's a pretty measurable and direct impact on your time, productivity, and so.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. All right, let's play a little buzzword bingo for a minute. So
yeah.
AI is playing a larger role in search engines today. How do you see AI changing the search landscape, and how is Kagi integrating AI to improve search results while still maintaining user privacy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I've grown up with this vision of AI in science fiction movies. You talk to a computer and all that, and I think that's a pretty cool vision. Unfortunately, the current generation of LLMs is not on track to achieve that, I have to say. They are vulnerable and limited in many ways. They're still pretty powerful, and they're able to do a lot of mundane tasks. Rewriting and summarizing content is one of them. And I think this is where they are potentially most useful in the context of information retrieval, which is where search operates. So we have been implementing some of these things very carefully and trying to be very mindful because we understand the limitations of these tools. And we sort of see AI as a tool, as a hammer, not this, cure for cancer. Kagi has a lot of AI functionality, but it's all opt-in. It's all on demand. For example, if you make a query in Kagi and with a question mark, that will trigger an AI summary of the search results. Otherwise, there is none. It's just a search engine. We also have the assistant, which is basically a front end to all the LLMs in the world, where the results are grounded in Kagi search. So you get sort of the best of both worlds, access to all these LLMs, but also the information is grounded in our search results. So yes, while we are, experimenting with this technology like everybody else, we are also being mindful of its impact, its limitations. And so everything we do with AI has that in mind. And we are trying to be very thoughtful about how we integrate it.
Nice. Okay, let's look to the future for a minute. What does the future of search look like to you, especially if we enter a world where people are becoming more privacy conscious and aware of the ad-driven search results? Yeah,
I think that's a great question. I think what will happen to society is the same thing that happened with healthy food. Example I gave in the beginning, that we will grow more aware about the value of information, both as individuals and as a society. So I do expect to see a lot more on that front. I think a couple of things may happen. One is that in 5 to 10 years, all sources of information that are ad-based will have a label for entertainment purposes only. That is really the value. When you're paying nothing, the value you're getting nothing, and it's similar to entertainment, really. And there will be paid search engines like Kagi and others, I hope, will emerge, where you will be able to pay to have better search results that will make you more productive and more competitive in the world. I also think that there should be a public search engine. Imagine search.gov, because access to information is so important. It should be non-discriminatory. Not everyone can pay for a paid search engine, but everyone should have access to information in their best interest. And that's where I see the role of public search engine. And by the way, we had that for centuries. It's called public libraries. Unfortunately, they became obsolete about 2 decades ago, and we did nothing to replace them. So the future market of search, I see those 3 players. There's the ad-based search, which is dominant today, but will become more of a, option in the future. There is the paid search with different levels of quality and different price. And there's the public search. So in 5 to 10 years, I would hope that we as a society grow out of dependence on world's largest advertising company for information and move towards more user-centric.
For folks who are concerned about privacy while browsing, what practical advice can you offer?
So the advice is very simple. Kagi is also a creator of a browser called Orion. It's available on macOS and iOS. It is completely privacy respecting and is also zero telemetry, which is pretty unique for browser these days. Zero telemetry means that it doesn't send any user information to the browser vendor. So if you are on macOS or iOS, try Orion. And by the way, the business model for Orion is also paid. There is a free version, but you can also pay to own your browser. There are no third parties involved in making the Orion. Other than that, use an ad blocker. uBlock Origin is a great one. If your browser supports it, that's going to get you pretty far in protecting you from the hostile web, but not against the browser itself. For that, you will have to have a zero telemetry browser. So do your research and see what's available on your platform.
Nice. Vlad, I didn't realize that you also made Orion. That's very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
That's very cool.
You have to, because it's not just about searching the web, it's about consuming the information from the web, and the search engine is just one part of that. So we are also working on a web browser to kind of create this ecosystem of tools that are user-centric. And that's pretty important when you're talking about search and browser. It's sort of two of the most intimate tools we use every day, and most people don't realize that their browsing and searching is paid for by third parties at this time. So
Indeed. Wow. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up. Where can folks go to learn more about you? Kagi, where can they sign up? How do they get you for freeing them from the shackles of ad-driven search?
Sure. So the easiest is to visit kagi.com. You'll find all information about our products there, the search engine, the browser, the other tool like the small web initiative that I mentioned. And that's a great starting point to get yourself educated about this whole new world.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us today. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. My pleasure.
Right. I think it's time for Ask One Password, our advice segment where you can ask Roo anything. And this is where we answer your questions, emails or letters, whether they are security rated or something completely random. So first up, we have a letter from Karen, who writes, "Hello, Anna. Thank you for a great RBM episode 137 with guests Wolf Costin discussing passkeys." That was an interview I did, Roo. When I do interviews, okay, people write in.
Yeah.
And celebrate them.
Mm-hmm.
Gauntlet has been thrown.
I learned a lot, Karen says. I always have a smile when I see a new episode. It's so fun and educational. Oh, thanks, Karen. Listening to your podcast at night, I dozed off partway through and woke up to friction, fiction, flubber, flamingo. And for a moment, I didn't realize what realm I was in. And there was so much laughter and someone who was laughing so hard in silence, you could maybe hear it. Maybe Matt. You outdid yourself with Password Panic, Anna. I teach iPhone workshops as a service to the community and will pass on my learnings. Security is always a popular topic. Cheers, Karen. Right, lovely letter. Did rinse us a bit, didn't it? It did.
A bit.
You
yes.
thought it was an
Yes.
award and an accolade for yourself, and then it dozed off.
Yeah.
Karen, wake up. We're reading your letter.
Nice.
That one was good. Okay, next up, we have an email from Mike. This one might be better. Who says, first, there were hobnobs. Sanity check. Do you both know what hobnobs are?
Nope.
Nope.
They're an OT biscuit.
An OT?
Imagine if you took an oat cookie and you baked it for the proper amount of time, rather than had a floppy mess, stodgy thing, and it was a nice crisp biscuit. That's what a hobnob is.
Okay.
Oatmeal cookie.
Okay. Right. So a fine, worthy biscuit, Mike says, reliable, crunchy, and sweet. Then came the milk chocolate hobnob. I don't know where this is going, this email.
Yeah, no.
Then came the milk chocolate hobnob, a worthy, decadent improvement. Then came dark chocolate hobnobs. My question is, are these a further refinement on an ever-improving path, or are they an abomination of a marketing idea taken too far that destroyed the humble beginnings of the basic rustic hobnob? Bonus points if Matt and Anna are forced to educate Sarah and Roo on the ingredients and mouthfeel of these biscuit varieties.
Oh, please tell me about the mouthfeel.
Tell me about the mouthfeel. What does that mean?
Right, okay.
Are they small?
I think it's like the top of a crumble.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, it's really good. It's really sharp and caramelly. I personally do think dark chocolate hobnobs were a step too far, but I had once, and they took these off the shelves. I don't know why, ridiculously quickly. I had two variants of hobnobs that I thought were delicious, right? One was an ultra thin. I think they'd basically put them in some kind of press. and they were thinner than other hobnobs. They were delicious. I never saw those again. The other ones were caramel hobnobs, where they'd put basically two of these thin hobnobs together with some caramel in the middle. They were delicious too, but dark chocolate can do one. There we go. I think I answered all the questions there. Didn't even need to ask Roo.
Are these tiny? Are they little tiny buttons? Like, are they little... Like, are they a cookie? Like, I'm still...
No, they're about the size of a... Like, the width of them is just a bit shy of a mug of tea. So you can dip, but it doesn't get stuck.
All right.
So they're as big as they can be that you could dunk them in tea.
It just sounds like a weird oatmeal cookie. Like, it's a crispy oatmeal cookie. Like, is it... You said oaty, so is an oatmeal cookie not the same?
Yeah, but an oatmeal cookie is like... it's underdone, right? Like it's floppy. You could break it and it wouldn't click.
Depends on who's cooking it.
And this has been a Q&A segment on a security podcast. I would just like to remind all of the listeners.
Please send your questions.
Oh dear.
Lord help us.
If the listeners send a question, I feel like we've got to answer it.
Yeah.
Yep.
No. Yep.
It's apparently the nation's favourite OT biscuit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If you, too, have any questions or need some biscuit recommendations from Agony Aunt Roo, then please send them to podcast@onepassword.com. You can include your name, or you can let us know if you would like to remain anonymous. Nice things as well as I fell asleep is also okay.
Yep.
Yeah, today's bag of Agony Aunt was a little more agonizing than I expected. So some real life advice would be nice. Maybe we can get some more fun questions in that don't involve cookies. I'm going to have to get a hobnob. It's on my list.
I enjoy the fact that our listeners trusted us with that particular dilemma.
No, I don't.
No? Okay. That seems like a you problem.
Okay.
On to Password Panic.
Let's wrap up this show with some Password Panic.
Password Panic.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christ. My God.
Today's Password Panic is brought to you by the letter D for deaf, which is what we all are now. Holy no.
Oh, that woke me up.
Oh, I bet you Karen's awake right now. She is not asleep. She is not asleep.
All right, let's get into it.
Do we have canned laughter happening right now?
Yep.
Oh, God, Bruce found the sound bites. Here we go.
I found the soundbar.
Okay, well, so welcome to One Password, everyone. Woo! All right. So welcome to Password Panic, the fast-paced memory testing trivia game. Here we have to answer a number of general knowledge questions to create one long password, but it's not that simple. When answering, Roo and Matt must recite and remember every correct answer from the round in order before adding the new answer to the list. Whichever host recalls the most correct answers is crowned the winner for remembering the longest password. As you all remember, our last episode was brought to you by the letter W, which was a winning show. So we will have fun with another letter today. Do we actually keep track of who wins these? I feel like these always end in chaos.
I don't know, but
There are no winners.
Can I just say, your voiceover voice for Get the Game Show is a lot different from any other time during the podcast.
Really?
And I very much enjoy it.
I very much have an answer the phone voice for people. I know the kids will be like, oh, she's in trouble. She's got to answer the phone.
It was a lot more like you had a handheld mic in your hand and you were just like, casually waving it around.
I try to be an entertainer. I'm very limited behind this desk.
It was good. Oh no, it was good.
It's a game show. We're here to have fun. I feel attacked now. So
Yeah.
no fun. I'm not going to read anything. No.
Oh no. It was an appreciation.
We'll
It wasn't an
see.
attack at all.
Just for that, Roo gets the first point. Congratulations, Roo.
Yay!
I don't think that will matter.
All right. Are you guys ready? Do you have your buzzers ready?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Question number 1. Benjamin Franklin is most credited for discovering what type of energy?
Huh?
What did Benjamin Franklin discover? Roo.
That would be electrical energy. Or electricity.
Yay! We'll accept electricity for short.
Hang on, but all of the answers start with the letter W.
What?
No, last time was the letter
Why?
W. Why would I give it away? I distracted you with my announcer
would I
voice, and now
give it
you're
away?
totally off.
Oh my god.
My
I just sat here
goodness.
thinking, well, it's electricity. Why? What could it possibly begin with W?
Water electricity. Wet electricity.
Electricity. So it's the letter E, Matt.
I got that now, thank you.
Which ties in nicely. Which psychological term refers to a sudden and profound understanding of something?
Ding.
Go for it, Roo.
Electricity. Eureka.
Oh, that is incorrect.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, it is incorrect.
Sorry, give me the clue again.
What psychological term refers to a sudden and profound understanding of something? I think you were thinking comic book term.
Whatever.
Ding.
Go for it.
Electric euphoria?
Nope.
No.
Ding. Electricity. Epiphany.
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay.
Well, we both lost. This has been Password Panic.
Hang on, that's not actually where we're ending it, is it?
No, let's keep going.
There's 12 questions. We've got to keep going.
Okay, let's pretend that didn't happen.
Okay,
Because
great.
I was like, oh, Matt's just had an epiphany that it's not the letter W. I was like, this is perfect. I'll go with an easy one. All right. What type of large African animal is known for its trunk and tusks?
Ding. Electric epiphany elephant.
Yay. What is the name of a baked or fried turnover common in Spain consisting of pastry and filling?
Ding. Wait.
Go for it.
Electricity. Epiphany. Elephant. Eclair?
No, that's French.
No. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Clearly. Matthew, to steal.
I don't know. What's a pastry that begins with E? Époux?
It's Spanish. You said Spain, right?
Spanish, yes.
Oh,
You got it, Matt?
honestly, I don't know.
Empanada?
It's an empanada.
Oh.
Sorry, what?
Okay.
Empanada.
Oh, it is empanada. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I said it at the same time you did. All right.
Jeez, you guys aren't...
This one's difficult this week.
Okay. Who was the legendary musician known as the King of Rock and Roll?
Ding.
Go for it.
Oh, hang on. Electricity, epiphany, elephant, empanada, Elvis.
Yes.
Did you say
I
that
feel
with
like
an
you said-
Elvis accent?
No.
I'm
sure?
laughing
I
'cause
almost said Edge, the guitarist from U2, but then I was like, that's probably not him.
I heard empanada and a pinata instead of like a
pinata.
pinata, like instead of
Oh,
empanada.
okay, that might be the accent.
That could be the accent.
A pinata.
No. Okay. Which beloved Red Muppeter characters
Dang.
starred in the children's... Go for it.
Huh?
Electricity. Epiphany. Elephant. Empanada. Elvis. Elmo.
Elmo loves you, Roo.
Aw.
Hang on,
you know
Elmo
that.
wasn't on the Muppets. He
He's
was on
a
Sesame
Muppet
Street.
on Sesame Street. If I had finished...
Oh.
Yes, he's a Muppet character. Yes, who lives on Sesame Street. But Roo just knows.
I didn't realize that was like a thing.
You could buzz in early. You've never been on any game shows before? All right. Which character from a 1982 Spielberg film wanted to phone home?
Oh, God. Yes, yeah, you got it.
Electricity. Epiphany. Elephant. Empanada. Elvis. Elmo. E.T.
You are correct. Okay. What is the name of the traditional Mexican dish consisting of a corn tortilla rolled around a filling and covered with a savory sauce?
Oh, ding. Oh, God. Now I can't remember the last one. Okay. Electricity.
You got it. Yep.
Epiphany. Elephant. Empanada. Elvis. Elmo. Something that was just there from the answer previous. but I can't remember what it is.
Phone home.
So I'm just going to go... Oh, E.T.
There you go.
Enchilada.
Yes, you got it. Okay, I will finish it up with this one. Which mythical sword did King Arthur pull from the stone to become king?
Ding. I'm getting reluctant.
The reluctance.
Yeah.
The reluctant ding.
Electricity, elephant, epiphany. Empanada, Elvis, Elmo. Enchilada. Oh, sorry. E.T. Enchilada, Excalibur.
Oh, of course it was Excalibur.
But I believe you got that wrong because I believe you said electricity, elephant, and epiphany.
Oh,
instead
did
of
I really
epiphany,
go?
elephant.
Did I swap? No.
I
Well,
think you swapped them.
Oh, well, there we call it.
that's it. That's the game.
That makes me feel like I need to do one of the ones I did skip because just for a bonus round.
Okay. All right.
It ties into 1Password history here. So aubergine is a purple vegetable, which also goes by what other name?
Do you want all the answers or just that answer?
I think we just go with that answer just for fun.
That changes my ability to ding in. But ding. Eggplant.
Okay. You are correct, but did you know that the eggplant is a berry?
No, it isn't.
Are cherries a berry?
Are cherries a berry?
Yes. According to Anna, an eggplant is a berry.
Right, that one I can believe, but an aubergine is not a berry.
As according to Anna.
Really?
I'm not going to second guess Anna. She edits this. She's obviously right.
I'm Googling it. Is an aubergine a berry? Is an aubergine a berry? Yes, an aubergine is a berry.
That's what you get for doubting Anna.
Incredible.
So with that, cherry berry, eggplant.
Every time. Basically, berries are nonsense. That's what we've learned from this.
It's good to be consistent.
Yep.
Yet again. All right, I've got to go. Love you both.
Love you both.
Love you both.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you're enjoying the show, we'd love it if you could subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also leave us a rating or review. It's one of the best ways to support Random But Memorable, and we always love reading your feedback. We're also a community-led podcast, so if you have any questions for us, topic requests, or even guests you'd like to hear from, please send us an email at podcast@onepassword.com. We read all of your comments and look forward to hearing from you. We hope you'll join us for the next episode with plenty more random moments in the wide world of cybersecurity.